Um, kind of just want to make a small video about things that they don't tell you whenever you boost your Mustang. Quick overview. This is a 2023 GT with the 10-speed automatic. Had it for about a year now. Kind of skipped the full bolt-on stage, went straight to boosted. Overview of everything that's done. One of the first things I did was headers. It's got speed engineering, inch and 7/8 catless headers, long tubes that connect to their X pipe that they'll send you for another $200. Comes with the X pipe and the connecting pipes from the headers to the X pipe, and then just the standard active exhaust mufflers. In my opinion, I think the sound is fine. It's perfect for cruising on the highway. You don't hear a lot of drone, and it's not extremely loud until you step on it and you want to make some noise. Then you are guaranteed to make some noise. At the same time getting my headers done, I bought a bunch of performance parts, specifically oil pump gears and your crank sprocket. These are the two parts that everybody talks about. As soon as you talk about boosting a Mustang, the first thing that everybody says is, did you get your oil pump gears done? And obviously, the reason, it's very obvious why you'd want to do that. I had my old set that I took, dropped them on the ground, first drop, they shattered. They have the boundary billet oil pump gears, and with that you can get the crank sprocket. And we also had crank support and your crank stud. There's no definite answer on why the crank snaps snap on these vehicles or on these engines. What a lot of people like to say is that the stock crank bolt is shorter than it needs to be and leaves a gap. So you have, with the supercharger being on there, you're going to be pulling more tension to one side than the other. That added with the short crank bolt that is factory, they say that causes an issue. So a lot of people, what they do is they order a crank stud saver kit, which fills that gap pretty much, and that's kind of like cheap insurance, but still no guarantee. But the thing is that really nothing is guaranteed, because we've heard of people who have snapped their cranks with crank supports. This one doesn't have crank support. You kind of see, I don't know if you can see it down there, it's kind of hidden, but it is a Innovators West balancer. The first time I ordered it, I ordered the wrong one, the one that did not have the extra 6 ribs on the back for the AC compressor. So swap that out real quick. Got the one with the AC compressor because this is a weekend vehicle. If we're in Louisiana, you get 90 to 100 degree weather during the summer. I need air conditioning, and the cooled seats don't work without air conditioner. So still wanted to kind of keep it somewhat, usable. Crank stud saver kit is probably one of the better parts of insurance that you can throw on the vehicle whenever you do your oil pump gears and all that, because you have to take the whole front of the motor off. You have to take the time, take everything off pretty much on the front of the motor to get to the oil pump gears. So it's like, while you're there, you might as well install the stud saver kit. Now, another thing that people say is a reason that people snap cranks on these cars is because they don't install the balancer properly. There's a certain way to hone balancers, and you have to have the install precise down to the thousandths. And if you don't properly install the balancer, that could throw everything off, the harmonics off, and you end up snapping a crank at a certain RPM. So far I've been lucky. I've only had the kit for about 4,000 to 5,000 miles. 0 issues with the engine. I've had issues, it's not with the engine. We're going to get into that. Who I'm tuned with, it's Wingard. I'm not a tuner dick rider, because I just, there's no reason to. It's just whoever tunes the car. I know some people say that some people do it better, some people don't. But there's too many little factors in the end, and Wingard's been a pretty popular choice, making sure that those newer S550s and S650s are really doing some good numbers. So, and he's been a reliable means. Pretty quick response times, could be a little better. But I mean, I really haven't had any complaints, um, and I think that he's a pretty good tuner. I would suggest him. A lot of people would go with Lund, understandable, but it's really completely up to you. Another thing that people don't mention when it comes to boosting a Mustang is they always kind of forget to do their PCV lines. And I know you're probably saying, oh, you only have one done. Yeah, I still am kind of a little lazy, so I'm kind of like shit talking myself right now. But one of my lines is not done. But the reason that you want to do these lines and cap these off is because whenever you start boosting your intake manifold and you start sending positive pressure, these lines are also going to be pressurized. I'm pretty sure this one will. I think there might be a check valve in it somewhere, but for sure the one on the driver's side will, and you will pressurize crankcases through doing that, and you can blow seals. So definitely not something you want to do. I would suggest getting the mini filters, little breathers, because they're cheap, they're at AutoZone, and it'll save you in the long run. I did go with the NGK Iridium spark plugs. Really good choice. I was going to go with the Ford Performance, but they took way too long to come in. I can go get the NGKs today. So I went with NGKs, Iridiums, gapped them to .026 using a feeler gauge and the tool that very slowly closes the gap, not the little AutoZone dime looking. That thing is trash. Don't ever use those, especially with Iridiums, because you're going to damage that node. I did that already. I've learned my lesson. I didn't do a lockout kit for the intake manifold. I probably will do that in the future, but I really just didn't feel like ripping my intake manifold off. We'll stick with the stock intake manifold. I don't feel like going with the Boss 302. The stock 18 to 23 manifold does a really good job, and no real reason for upgrades. Same with cams. This car does have a ghost cam. Because when Gert sent it to me, it's a 3-stage or 3-map tune. Stage 1 or map 1 is the just standard, no ghost, no burble. Map 2 is the ghost, and map 3 is the burble. Which the burble is more just like a pop tune. It's kind of ridiculous. I don't like it at all. Also did do the GT500 or the 2020 Plus GT500. Fuel injectors for the port injection, direct injection is still stock, and a VMP booster pump. The injectors and the booster pump did come from ESS, so I just ordered that with the kit. This does have the tile blow-up valve, which you probably cannot see in the grill, but does sound very, very good, especially when you're starting to rev it up a little bit. Coolant, use the yellow coolant, not the orange. I know a lot of older gen Coyotes use orange. Orange is trash. It leaves corrosion in your coolant lines and eats up your block. That's what I've heard from Ford, from my techs at Ford, not from a Ford dealership saying that. So everybody, Ford has switched over from orange to yellow. But as far as installing the kit, super, super simple. Really can't complain. It took a while because I didn't know what I was doing in terms of I've never done an ESS kit before. I've never done a supercharger before. I've worked on my car before, but not to this extent. And taking apart the whole front of the car, running all these charge pipes, which if you run any charge pipes, especially being silicone, huge recommendation to run dish soap all around them, because you will have the worst time of your life running this charge pipe coming to the intercooler and this charge pipe making the U-turn around the intercooler. That one sucks ass, and this one honestly does too. They all suck. So, and then ESS, I don't know why they sent me the wrong size band clamps. This is the only one that actually had a little bit of room left. The other ones were too short, so ended up having to try and squeeze the hell out of them to make them work. But I guess the tighter the better when it comes to charge pipes. So I'm kind of ranting and babbling about the car, but I do want to get to the nitty and gritty about what this whole video is about, because I think that a lot of people can be misled when it comes to building these cars, especially on social media. Everybody says that a G3 or a Gen 3 Mustang or even a Gen 2 can handle 1,000 horsepower, no issues at all. And that is the most bullshit I've ever heard in my life. No car from factory, or sorry, no Mustang from factory can handle 1,000 horsepower reliably. That's the word that they're missing, and that's the word that's very important to me, because if it's not reliable, I really don't want to drive it. And you can make something 1,000 horsepower and reliable, but it's not going to be on a stock 10 or 80, and it's not going to be on a stock motor. That's just the truth. If you want a reliable 1,000 horsepower Mustang, you have to be a minimum of 20 grand deep in the car to make anything somewhat reliable. And the reason I say this is because people dick ride the 10-speed automatic transmission like it is the best transmission in the world. Yes, it does keep the motor in power band, and it is a very well-built transmission as far as design and performance. But as far as clutch packs, build material, build quality, and then the recalls, you just cannot expect this kind of power on a stock transmission. It's not possible. And one of the key signs that a lot of people don't tell you about when you start to notice your transmission failing, if you ever wondered, I originally thought it was my tuner's issue, because sometimes when I did wide open throttle pulls, my transmission just would not upshift. So my limiter is obviously set to 8,000, but my shift points are set to around 78. I'm pretty sure it's 78 or 76, which is where I want it to be. I don't want to be pushing 8,000. Wangert also sent me a roll race tune, so I don't have to throw it back in drive after downshifting. I can just keep it in sport. It'll start upshifting for me. No issues at all. And every once in a while I notice that I'm doing a wide open throttle pull, it's going past 7,800 and it's limiting out at 8,000. And that is not a tuner issue. It could be a tuner issue, but he sent a bunch of revisions. We've tried to work out the issue. It's very, very random, but in the end, it's not the tuner's fault. It is the transmission. Your transmission is going out. The main reason for this is your clutch packs. They're just not built for high power. My buddy had to get his transmission rebuilt, and he's only NA on the 85, but he does a lot of roll races. He does a lot of drag mode roll races, which it does the torque converter lockout on upshifts, and it'll spin the tires. It's a lot of stress on that transmission. It'll raise your temps, wear your clutch packs out. So he had to get his rebuilt, but he had warranty. I still have warranty, but he had warranty, went to Ford, had it rebuilt for him. Me personally, I don't feel like taking off the supercharger, making it back to NA to get my trans rebuilt, and another 30,000 down the road, it's doing the same thing. Or before that, it might go out in 10,000. So I'm going to go with the ATS Stage 1 DIY kit. That is a full clutch pack rebuild. It sends you all the parts you need. It does not come with a torque converter, because most people say that torque converters actually are pretty beefy. That is one thing that people say, that the 10-speed automatic does have beefy torque converters, but as far as everything behind the torque converter, nope, fried. The next thing I kind of want to touch up on, it's kind of obvious. This is a 2023. 3 years I've had this, 3 years this car has been alive. 1 year I've had it. I've already been through 2 front struts, a CB axle, and now a carrier bearing on my drive shaft. And that's just a few of the things. Minus the little, miscellaneous, my puddle lights don't work anymore. Little things that are just silly. You're dealing with a new car, you're going to have new car issues. These things are throwaway vehicles, they're not meant to last, they're not reliable in the long run. So just point that out. If you expect your front struts to last you 100,000 miles, they're not. If you expect to stay on stock CV axles while pushing, this amount of power, not going to happen. If you expect your carrier bearing on your drive shaft to last a while, not going to happen. They're cheap cars. That's why everybody buys Mustangs and builds them, because they're cheap. And I understand it. Look, this is my favorite car. Like, I've always wanted a Mustang since I was little, and having one is a really cool feeling, especially boosted, because, but they come with their issues. You get into a boosted vehicle, you're going to expect boosted things, boosted problems. So just, I say be aware. The next thing I want to touch up on, like I said just a second ago, is the carrier bearing and the drive shaft. Now, these are two-piece drive shafts held up with a carrier bearing in the middle, and the carrier bearing has rubber around it, so it will blow eventually. My car's at 33,000 miles, and it's already out. My buddy's had 30,000 when his blew. And the way you can tell they're gone is when you get up to highway speeds around, a lot of people report 65 to 80. I'm at 70 miles an hour. The carrier bearing will shake violently. And this is funny because this blew out about the same time that I got the drag pack. And I was so confused because all my friends told me, oh, dude, it's the Mickey Thompsons. They're soft compound. They get the little holes and little craters in them. They shake like shit. But then they also told me just drive for a few miles and it'll wear out. I drove for hours and I'm like, this shit is still terrible. What's going on? Come to find out, I really felt it during acceleration. Didn't feel it so much during deceleration. So I figured it wasn't my tires. It had something to do with my powertrain. The only thing is, I didn't know if it was my torque converter or if it was my drive shaft. Come to find out, it is my drive shaft and it is a carrier bearing. What a lot of people do to prevent this is to go with a one-piece drive shaft. A lot of people do the carbon fiber drive shaft from the GT500s, but aluminum is also a good choice. But I think I'm going to go with the carbon fiber one just because might as well. I don't want to have any more problems. So one-piece drive shaft. But I just want to point that out because, a lot of people when they boost their Mustangs, they don't talk about drive shafts, or the carrier bearings. That's one of the main problems with people who say you should boost a Mustang is all they say is you need oil pump gears and a crank sprocket and you're ready to make a bunch of power. There is so much stuff. There's so much more that you need to take into consideration that a lot of people don't take into consideration. But I guess while we're on the topic, because I brought it up just a second ago, talk about the Mickey Thompsons. These are ET Street Rs. They are 305s. They are a very, very nice tire. The only problem, and this is the same thing with my stock tires, is I did not get the rear adjustable camber arms, so they are on a horrendous angle. Going to be ordering that soon so I can get full contact and also not wear out the inside of my tire. My old set, which is still outside, the rear 275 performance packs, the inside of the tire is eaten to shit. This is every Mustang, especially whenever you start adding the lowering springs. I have Steeder Progressive Sport lowering springs on the car. Did not need drag springs to clear 305s. You will need them to clear 315s, I'm pretty sure, or a higher sidewall. But as soon as you start lowering the suspension, your camber gets worse. And these, even though they're IRS, they do not have rear adjustable camber arms. They are fixed. So you have to order the Cedar ones. Highly recommend. They are built quality. They're built ready. The cradle lockout kit is another thing I'm about to order. Kind of just holding off because I want to get the transmission and the drive shaft dealt with first. But rear suspension is very overlooked. But if you're building a car, especially if you do want to take it on the track, this is not a track car. This is not a drag strip car. This is a street car. But even if it's a street car, suspension is not something to be overlooked. So 100% get the rear adjustable camber arm. But on the tires, these tires are soft compound. So the way it's sitting right now, it's going to create soft spots in the tires, and you're gonna notice them. I didn't notice this first. So whenever we tried to change this out, or whenever we tried to balance this tire, we were chasing out, wobbles all day long. We could not figure it out. Come to find out, that's just the way they're built. Nothing you can do about it. So if you Don't even waste your time trying to chase out wobbles. You can't do it. One more thing about these tires, or these rims specifically. These are VMS rims. I don't even know what they're called, but they're VMS rims. I forgot. They're not Lagunas. They're the other ones. Your stock lug nuts are actually too wide, so whenever you try and run them onto the drag pack, they're not going to fit. Found that out the hard way. You have to go get the I can't think of the name of them, but they're different types of lug nuts. Just don't think that your stocks can fit on the drag pack, because they can't. This one is kind of the same thing. I'm going to point out, just like the spark plugs. This is my bad. This is because I've never really done things on my car before, like kind of big things. I've changed spark plugs before, yes. I have not gapped spark plugs before. So I messed up all the spark plugs on the first try. Thankfully, they returned them, even though they were all destroyed. And I learned how to properly gap spark plugs. Same thing with injectors. The port injection on this motor is really not difficult to change out. But there's one thing that I noted that's very slight, but I completely missed it the first time, and I'm glad that I picked it up before I started and test drove the car, because that could have been a problem. When you pull your injectors up off the rail and you pull your old injectors out, make sure that the blue O-ring comes off of the top of the port injection, because I think I had 2 injectors where the O-rings did not come out. They stayed stuck inside the rail, and I didn't notice it, so I pushed the old one in and sent it down, and I didn't start it. It just didn't look right. One was sitting higher than the other. Something didn't look right. Ended up having to dig the old O-rings out. Just a bit of a precaution. I'm sure y'all are much smarter than me. I didn't know, so I had to learn the hard way, unfortunately. But in the end, there's a few more things I'm sure I'll come across. I'll make another video for. But that was just a few little things I wanted to throw out. I've watched a bunch of videos before and after I boosted the car, before I even bought the car, because the whole reason I bought the car was to plan on boosting it. This is my whole goal. So I knew what I wanted. I knew I wanted a G3. That's a G3, by the way. It's not a G3X. I knew I wanted the G3. I knew this is what I wanted to do. I knew I wanted a Gen 3 Coyote with a 10-speed. I knew this is what I wanted to do. But nobody told me that the 10 speeds were junk, that I was going to have drive shaft issues. Nobody told me that I was going to have any kind of these issues. All I heard was just change your oil pump gears. So just kind of a video in case y'all didn't know. I'm sure you do. In case y'all didn't know, this is some things that can happen. I mean, you know, you're building a car for high horsepower. You're going to expect things to break. I knew that. I guess I just wasn't thinking those specific things were going to break, which my fault. I should have known. But now that I know, I'm going to let other people know. All right, now that's over. I guess I'll give her a little start, let her warm up, and then that'll be about it.